It will be a long week ahead of us for sure.
Indeed it will. Thank you, Fitz.
All right, let's bring in Amelia Irvine from Young Voices and Democratic strategist Maureen Simpson. Good to see you. Maurice Simpson. Oh, I'm sorry, Mo.
It's all good.
Congratulations, I've changed your name. Good to see you both. Let's start though. I'll start with you. I mean, we've been following this process from Friday to Democrats wanted to see this investigation happen. Jeff Flake cast that vote and said, we want to see the investigation happen. Now there's some difference as to what they may get out of this investigation. And that seems to be the bone of contention between Dems and Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We want a full, thorough investigation. I think that you see Republican leadership trying to move this forward. Mitch McConnell has already come out saying that a vote will be taken this week. I think that is premature depending on what information may come out of this week's investigation. So he's clear on whether, regardless of what comes out, they're planning to move forward. And so hopefully, through a thorough investigation, more information will come forward that we can rely on because, this is a very important appointment here in our country's history.
Amelia, let me ask you, we heard the president say, hey, he's welcome to a more comprehensive investigation, but this still has to be finished by Friday. Former FBI Director James Comey wrote an op-ed, and he said if the truth were the only goal, there would be no clock. The investigation would not have been sought after by the Senate Judiciary Committee, already endorsed the nominee. Instead, it seems that the GOP's goal is to be able to say there was an investigation and it didn't change their view, while Democrats hope for incriminating evidence to derail the nominee. What do you make of what he just said there?
Well, first of all, I think that James Comey has made it obvious in all of his previous appearances that he's now a partisan hack. I don't think that he can be trusted as a nonpartisan neutral source on the FBI anymore. And second of all, Judge Kavanaugh has already undergone 6 FBI investigations into his background. If there were something serious, they would have found it by now, which is why I think it's fine to just investigate the credible allegations of sexual assault. I don't think that it's appropriate to have a wide-ranging investigation into a bunch of things that have already been investigated.
When you mentioned about, I think we certainly know where James Comey comes from. You're absolutely right about that because we've heard that during his book tour and some of the things he said. When you go to judicial temperament, one thing the Democrats out about Judge Kavanaugh was he was very emotional in talking about his family, the toll that this has taken. I think that's totally understandable. When he started mentioning about this was the Democrats' fault, this was something the Clintons set out on him. Right. There were some people that said that may not necessarily disqualify him, but calls into question his judicial temperament when you look at it from a partisan perspective.
I definitely agree. Sexual allegations aside, this conversation has unearthed questions about Kavanaugh's tone and temperament. He's definitely taken partisan rhetoric, before the Judiciary Committee, as well as his temperament. Many people, lawyers, are serious litigators, will go before the Supreme Court for oral argument on some of our most contentious public policies. And if an attorney were to go before the Supreme Court, which can sometimes be a hot bench, and display that same attitude that he did, any lawyer was sure to be reprimanded. And so his inability to remain his composure under tough questions is inappropriate, and is what he's going to be asking of litigants who come before him on the Supreme Court.
All right, let's hear what GOP Senator Lindsey Graham had to say about this process.
What I saw was a good man completely destroyed. I don't know what happened to Dr. Ford. I found his testimony to be compelling, I'm sorry about Dr. Ford. She's a victim of this too. Low point in my Senate career. He needs to be on the court, and a no vote for him legitimizes the most despicable behavior I've ever seen.
Amelia, let me ask you, you heard Lindsey Graham there say he thought that Kavanaugh's testimony was very credible. We've heard other folks come out and say he told some white lies in there when it came to his drinking, when it came to his yearbook, when it came to some things that were written in the calendars, and those should also go to his credibility. How do you think, if you're one of those folks who's deciding whether or not he should become the next Supreme Court justice, does that come into play? Should that be a factor?
I think this whole thing is completely ridiculous. First of all, Judge Kavanaugh's anger when he was testifying in front of the Senate was completely justified. That is called righteous anger. It's how you react when you've been accused unjustly and you've been dragged through the mud for the past 10 days, and it's affecting your family. And I think that if he told white lies, and I don't think that he did, I think that he was trying to speak as honestly as possible about his drinking when he was in high school and college. I mean, come on. I think that that's just the most ridiculous thing in the entire world. He's clearly a qualified justice, and he clearly has the credentials that are needed in order to be a good Supreme Court justice, and that's what really matters.
All right, Maurice, let's be honest here. Mitch McConnell took the Senate floor today and said the Democrats are moving the goalposts. And, you know, they wanted the investigation, they got the investigation, and now he's wondering where it's going to go from here. The Democrats, they lost. They lost the presidential election. They lost the chance to appoint a Supreme Court justice here. I mean, do you see that a lot of people are looking at this from a political perspective and saying the Democrats really are just trying to postpone what Republicans think will be the inevitable?
No, Jim, we're looking at this from a democracy perspective. So while we do not have the White House, we still have the other branches of government, and you know we are using.
You don't.
Well, yeah, but we still have an opportunity, and we have the right to checks and balances, and so this is what we're doing, is utilizing the process. But just because we simply are outnumbered does not mean we're not out strategized, and so it's our opportunity and our sure right to represent the other half of the population of citizens and voters who feel strongly in a different direction on this candidacy.
All right. Maurice Simpson, Democratic strategist, and Amelia Irvine from Young Voices. Thank you guys for coming in tonight. We appreciate it.